by the time we got to the off season, we were already down to, I mean, just being honest, we were already down to just Patrick and Mitch. And for me, I'll just speak to my experience. My first time, I was a big blink guy back then. Like the first impression, go with your gut. I remember I was in my office and I turned on North Carolina tape for the first time, and it was really impressive tape. And there was fourth quarter comebacks and there was fourth down conversions, and he was very, very talented. And I remember, I think a lot of times this happens, and Jim, you could probably attest to this, like when you're not expecting much on the tape, you're just kind of putting it in for the first time, and you're like, holy shit, like this dude can play. This guy's athletic. He's got an arm. Like he's winning games for him in the fourth quarter. So I remember that being like, hey, this is definitely a first round candidate. And there was two things with Patrick. The first time I did the same thing, whether it was that week or the next week, Texas Tech tape. And the first tape I watched on Patrick was bad. Like, I don't know if you remember this, Jim. He had a little run where I later found out he was really hurt.
Yep.
Yeah, very significant shoulder separation. And there was one game, and I'm pretty sure it was Iowa State. I can't remember all the games, but I know I was West Virginia, Iowa State, something like that, where he was on the road, and it was just bad. It was turnovers. They were getting killed, and it was a very unfavorable impression to the point where I was like, is this guy really a legit first rounder? That was my first taste of him. And then a piece of information came into our building through a coach about him personally that was very negative, that we later found out to be not true. It did not impact our decision at all. I got to meet with Patrick one-on-one when we did our dinner with him. We went into a separate room. It was just me and him. We discussed it. I totally believe that it wasn't true. It was a rumor. I don't know where our coach got it from, to be honest with you. It was pretty ridiculous. If it were to be true, it would have been a very holy shit, like this is not what you want your franchise quarterback doing and behaving like. It wasn't true at all. It didn't impact our decision. I'm just telling it because these are the first two observations I had of the player. For me, when the season ended, it was easy for me. It was Mitch and then Patrick. Like, it was easy. And then as we got through the spring, that gap closed as we got to be around Patrick more, as we got to know both players more. But it never got to the point where we were like, we should do this over this. It was always for us, Mitch over Patrick. We knew, and I feel like I've told this story like 10 times in the last 2 weeks. We knew what Cleveland, they were deciding between Mitch and they were deciding between Myles Garrett. We knew that. We were getting very good information out of their building. And we just had to have a backup plan. And I said this on the radio yesterday, do we take a position player at 3? Do you try to would we even have the balls to take Patrick at 3? Would you try to trade back and take the quarterback? Would you take a position player at 3 and then try to trade back in to get him if he fell further enough? And then the last scenario we had was, how much would you give to San Francisco to get Myles Garrett if Cleveland ends up taking the quarterback 1? And those were the scenarios for us. About 24 hours before the draft, we knew Cleveland's direction, and we knew they were taking Myles. And then for us, it just became, we're going to take Mitch. We were getting information that one of the teams behind us was going to move up to 2 and take Mitch, and that's why, obviously, we went up to 2 to take him. The information was not coming from San Francisco, which the story that got out that Lynch made it up, that was a bunch of bullshit. We were getting information from somebody we obviously trusted that was well-informed, and we didn't want to take the risk of getting caught with our pants down. And there's a trade for 2, and they take the guy we wanted to take. So that's why we moved up from 3 to 2. Obviously, we made the wrong selection, and it impacted a tremendous amount of people. We're not the first, we're not the last, and And what's cool about it now is it's been 7 years, 6 years. I said this yesterday on the radio as well. The first thing I do every Monday is watch Kansas City tape. I love watching him play. He's as rare to me. He's the best that I've ever seen on tape. I've never seen a better NFL quarterback on tape than that guy. He's magic.